I'm Alex. Join me with Aria in the latest Deep Dive by Defense Report for a sharp, no-nonsense breakdown of the latest in global defense news, military technology, and strategic developments.
Subscribe to Defense Reports, your go-to source for timely, in-depth military and defense reports.
And today we're going to cover the really devastating tactical fight that is shaping the whole future of the war.
We're deep diving into the sources that surround a huge headline. Ukraine destroys Russian column at Pokrovsk.
Welcome. We have a lot to get through today. We've got sources on this intense attritional fighting, new Russian tactics, and really critically, the peace negotiations happening in Berlin.
And we're going to connect that fight on the ground directly to what's being said at the negotiating table.
But first, you really have to understand the true cost of battles like Pokrovsk. I mean, the city is just in ruins after an 18-month struggle.
And we're going to reveal the just astonishing scale of Russia's commitment to taking this ground, even as Putin is doubling down on his demands.
Right. So our mission today is to give you a shortcut to understanding this entire conflict. What's happening in the mud and why it matters in those diplomatic rooms.
The fighting is informing the diplomacy, and right now the fighting is just brutal.
Okay, let's unpack this. We have to start in the Donetsk region with Pokrovsk. It's been under, well, immense pressure for months. What's the latest assessment on the city?
The assessment honestly confirms the sheer terrible attrition that's defining this phase of the war. Military analyst Mikhailo Zhirokov gave a very sobering take.
Okay.
He said the situation has, and I'm quoting here, reached its logical end.
Its logical end. What does that actually mean on the ground?
It means that, given the enormous Russian pressure, and this is a key number, an 8 to 10-fold manpower advantage they've concentrated right there.
Wow. 8 to 10 times the troops.
Exactly. So a tactical withdrawal to new positions beyond Pokrovsk and Myrnarad was, well, it was probably inevitable. It's just simple arithmetic at that point.
And we're talking about Russia being willing to spend lives at a ratio that just completely dwarfs the defenders.
And this advantage has been helped by a classic factor, the weather. Zhirkov noted that this unusually warm December and the persistent fog have played right into Russia's hands.
How so? The fog, you'd think, would slow everyone down.
Well, it provides perfect visual cover. It dramatically limits the effectiveness of Ukrainian long-range artillery, and maybe most importantly, their FPV reconnaissance drones.
So they're exploiting the lack of clear sight lines. That's been Ukraine's biggest asymmetric advantage.
Precisely. And this low visibility has let them use armored vehicles and small infiltration units to establish control over what's now a gray zone around the city.
So it's not a total collapse then?
No, and that's important. The withdrawal seems to have been an organized maneuver, not a rout. The 7th Air Assault Corps confirmed an organized maneuver on December 8th.
So they're still fighting?
They are. Russia might be entrenched in the southern districts, but Ukrainian forces are still actively holding the northern neighborhoods, fighting street by street.
And what's left of Pokrovsk itself after, 18 months of this?
It's a complete casualty. The sources describe it as a complete ruin. Before the war, it was a vital hub. It had Ukraine's largest coking coal supplier.
Right, a huge strategic asset.
Huge asset. That mine employed 10,000 people. It was closed back in January of this year, and its tunnels were deliberately collapsed and flooded.
Flooded? Why?
To deny Russian forces any potential underground advantage or shelter. The city is now just a shell, no gas, no water, no power, no heat.
That's staggering. An entire city and a major economic engine destroyed just to deny a tactical advantage.
And think about the timeline. It took Russia 21 months to move just 39 kilometers from Avdiivka. It speaks to an incredible defensive effort.
So the question becomes, how are Russian forces finally managing these advances, bypassing the drone defenses that used to just grind their armor to a halt? This is where it gets interesting.
Well, they finally realized they had to adapt. They couldn't just keep doing mass mechanized assaults. We're seeing a dedicated 5-month effort they call Battlefield Air Interdiction BAI.
BAI. Okay, so for everyone listening, this isn't just like shooting down FPV drones. What does that actually entail?
It's a much more specialized, focused effort. It means you have these highly specialized Russian units, some from the Rubicon Center for Advanced Unmanned Technologies.
Okay.
And they are focused solely on the logistics of drone operations. They hunt the Ukrainian drone crews, their launch sites, and their supply lines, what we call GLOCs.
ground lines of communication. So if you can cut the supply line, the drones eventually just stop flying.
Exactly. And then they're using a fundamental shift in ground tactics to exploit that temporary gap in drone coverage.
Right, we've seen reports on this.
Yeah.
Military observer Konstantin Mashevitz detailed a new three-phase infiltration tactic.
And it's designed explicitly to avoid those catastrophic losses we used to see, the huge columns of burning tanks.
So tell us about these phases, because it sounds like a major operational change.
So phase 1 is preparation. They use Spetsnaz to identify Ukrainian supply lines and find those drone operator positions, often attacking under the cover of fog or at night.
Phase 2.
That's execution. Standard assault forces do a limited infiltration just to get a foothold. But the crucial part, and the reason they're having some success, is phase 3 exploitation.
Okay, and this is the big change.
This is it. Instead of sending a big armored column, they send lots of tiny assault groups. We're talking just 1 to 3 soldiers on foot, on motorbikes, even in pickup trucks.
To just overwhelm the defenders.
Exactly. They overwhelm exhausted Ukrainian positions quickly, and these small groups are so much harder for FPV drones or artillery to target than a BMP or a tank.
It's a smart way to leverage their one huge advantage, manpower, while minimizing their exposure to Ukraine's tech edge.
But, and this is a big but, we still see them reverting to disastrous mechanized tactics, so the lesson hasn't stuck everywhere.
Right, the contrast is pretty stark.
It really is. We have confirmed reports of the total destruction of a Russian armored group BMPs, tanks, the works by the Ukrainian 46th Brigade after the vehicles just got hopelessly stuck in the mud.
So Rasputitsa is still a major player on the battlefield. The mud.
Absolutely. The name still sticks. The mud can be more damaging to their advances than the Ukrainian defense sometimes.
And it shows Ukrainian forces are still highly effective against those predictable big attacks.
Definitely. Near Novopavlivka, they repelled at least a platoon-sized mechanized assault and confirmed they destroyed or damaged at least 5 armored vehicles in that one fight alone.
Okay, so let's move from the mud pits and the drone duels to the negotiation rooms in Berlin. What's happening with these peace talks?
Well, the talks in Berlin on December 15th saw some significant movement, at least from the Western Alliance. U.S., Ukrainian, and European officials reportedly agreed on establishing robust, NATO-like security guarantees for Ukraine.
NATO-like. So what does that mean in practice? A legally binding treaty?
Yes, exactly. A legally binding commitment for military, diplomatic, and economic measures that would kick in immediately if Russia attacked again.
That sounds powerful. It's like an alliance structure without formal NATO membership,
Yeah.
which is probably the most the West can offer right now. What's Kimmy's position on this?
President Zelensky has said he's ready to drop the formal NATO bid in exchange for these guarantees. But, and this is the crucial point, he rejects ceding any land.
None at all.
None. That includes the eastern Donetsk region and its fortified fortress belt. The core position is clear. Territory is not on the table in exchange for peace.
And Moscow. Are they receptive to this?
Not even slightly. They are rejecting the core ideas of any viable deal. Putin publicly claimed Moscow has the strategic initiative and openly threatened to expand a so-called buffer security zone.
A buffer zone beyond the current front lines.
Well beyond. He even spoke of the liberation of its historical lands, which is Kremlin speak for huge areas like Odessa and what they call Novorossiya.
That's a maximalist position. He's demanding territory they don't even control. That has to prove Kyiv's point that Russia's aims are expansionist.
It absolutely does. And to make it even clearer, Deputy Foreign Minister Ryabkov explicitly rejected the NATO-like guarantees. He said Russia would not accept any NATO troops in Ukraine, not even as monitors.
And they're still insisting on recognition of the annexed regions.
All 5 of them, including Crimea. That's their baseline for any deal.
So while they're making these huge political demands, they're also trying to create a narrative of inevitable victory to gain leverage.
That's the cognitive warfare part of it. Defense Minister Belousov recently made false claims about Russian advances,
Right.
claiming they'd seized smaller places like Chasiv Yar to suggest they could easily take much bigger cities like Kramatorsk or Sloviansk. The rhetoric is designed to make a Russian win look inevitable, even when the facts on the ground say otherwise.
Okay, so despite that intense pressure in Donetsk, there are clear signs of Ukrainian successes elsewhere. Right. Signs of resilience. What stands out to you?
The ongoing counteroffensive in the Kupiansk direction is a key example. Since September, Ukrainian forces have been systematically pushing back, liberating areas in central Kupiansk.
And making it hard for Russian forces there to hold on.
Very hard. Ukrainian interdiction has been so successful that the 100 to 200 Russian troops still in the city are relying on limited drone missions just for supplies.
They're essentially besieged.
Wow. And beyond the front lines, we've also seen some historic innovation in the Black Sea.
Yes, the naval domain is where the innovation has been really striking. We have confirmation of the success of the Subsea Baby, an unmanned underwater vehicle, or UUV,
Right, this was the strike on the Russian submarine.
a Varshavianka-class submarine in Novorossiysk. And this is genuinely historic.
Why is this one strike such a big deal? A submarine is a very tough target.
It's the first ever confirmed UUV strike against a submarine in the history of naval warfare.
The first ever. Ever. Submarines are designed to be invisible. To successfully track and strike a submerged, stealth target with a relatively inexpensive unmanned vehicle, it's a profound technological leap. It shows Ukraine can deny Russia a safe harbor anywhere in the region.
And we've seen other successful strikes on high-value assets too, especially in Crimea.
Yes, they're consistently using drones to hit things that really matter. Most recently, they hit the 96L6 radar system of a powerful S-400 air defense battery at an air base in occupied Crimea.
And taking out the eyes of the S-400 is crucial for future Ukrainian operations.
Absolutely, it degrades Russia's air defense and makes the skies safer for Ukraine.
Which brings us to the critical need right now, air defense. Because for all these successes, the reports on the sheer volume of Russia's aerial attacks are, well, they're horrifying.
They are. The numbers just underscore Ukraine's urgent need for more support. Russian forces are pummeling cities daily. Dnipro is described as looking like a dystopian movie after all the strikes.
And the escalation in glide bombs is just shocking.
It is. It's a massive, cheap form of attack that Ukraine really struggles to counter. Russia dropped over 5,300 guided glide bombs in October alone.
Over 5,000 in 1 month.
And if you look at the total for the first 10 months of this year, it's 40,000. That's equal to all of 2024 combined. That sheer volume means a robust air defense isn't just helpful, it is essential for survival.
So what does this all mean when you connect the brutal fight for Pokrovsk, the tech race in the Black Sea, and the political standoff in Berlin?
Right.
What's the bottom line?
I think it means the conflict is really defined by three things. First, extreme attrition. Russia is accepting just astronomical casualties for a few kilometers, which confirms they see their manpower as an endless resource.
Okay.
Second, the tech arms race continues. Innovation like the UUV strike gives Ukraine an edge, but that's constantly being countered by Russian adaptations like their anti-drone warfare.
And the third thing?
The strategic chasm is fixed. Russia's maximalist goals demanding Odessa, refusing security guarantees, it ensures that even if the fighting pauses, this conflict isn't truly over without ironclad NATO-like security for Kyiv.
It seems like Russia is preparing its own society for a very, very long war.
Precisely. And the final thought for you to consider is this. Putin is now explicitly framing European nations as enemies comparable to Nazi Germany. He's doing that to militarize his own society for a prolonged war effort well into 2026.
So he's laying the ideological groundwork for his people to accept years more of this.
He's signaling that Moscow understands that conquering Ukraine will require not months, but potentially years more of this grinding, resource-intensive warfare.
Music cues up. You've been listening to Defense Report by Alex Honoria, where we analyze the latest in military strategy, global defense, and advanced weaponry.
Subscribe to Defense Reports, your go-to source for timely, in-depth military and defense reports. We'll catch you next time.
Music swells and fades out.